right. Immaculate. Title kind of went over my head. Me and these religious movies. I'm not gonna say they're all for me or I'm the best person at kind of getting the religious stuff, but I'll get more into that here in a second. But let's see what IMDb has to say about this one. Cecilia, a woman of devout faith, is warmly welcomed to the picture perfect Italian countryside, where she is offered a new role at an illustrious convent. Oof. But it becomes clear to Cecilia that her new home harbors dark and horrifying secrets. All right, a convent with dark and horrifying secrets. You got the good and the bad, I guess, all in one place. Um, again, here we have another new movie that a lot of people are waiting for that has come out. It was in theaters, and I think now it's streaming and so forth. Obviously, a little behind on that, so I finally got to see it. But I know since this is still kind of a new movie, we'll kind of keep this spoiler free. I think if you're a religious person or an awake religious person who kind of interprets the name of the film and kind of stops to think about it for a second, maybe you'll kind of guess what the movie is about. But if you're oblivious or just not paying attention like me, maybe it'll go over your head and then you watch the movie and be like, oh, okay, now I see what's happening here. So yeah, the whole Immaculate thing, I just really didn't see it until, it kind of is happening in this movie. Then I'm like, oh, okay. So whether you're religious or not, you know what I'm talking about or not, I don't know. But I'll try to kind of keep it spoiler free, but that kind of tells you everything in the title about the direction of the movie. But I'll still keep some stuff and the reasons why and so forth. Not in here so that you guys can kind of see it. But yeah, as you can tell, religion in movies, yeah, I don't know, not really my thing. I kind of see her kind of setting up here, and I'm just thinking of the nun, and just kind of like, why? I don't want to see another nun. I have not seen part two yet. I mean, I actually kind of turned it on, but I wasn't paying attention, so I turned it off, and I said, I'll watch it again at some point, and that some point has not happened yet. But yeah, I fair to say that I wasn't the biggest fan of the first one. Kind of when I kind of see this kind of happening, I'm like, oh, what is going to happen in this thing here? And yeah, the title kind of, I think I was more thinking about that, and that's probably one of the reasons why the title here just went over my head. But yeah, so early on the movie's gonna kind of open, and you're gonna see this young nun who's tried to escape these pretty scary looking nuns, and obviously failed to do so. And you kind of leave you wondering, what the hell is happening here. I want to see more of these scary looking nuns that are here, but we're gonna have to wait and find out because Cecilia is gonna be arriving. And as she arrives, we kind of get a little introduction to her and who she is, and she's kind of all with it. She wants to do this. She wants to be kind of turn her faith here and give it all to this convent. And she just kind of wants to make friends and be there and be happy and love God and do all those kind of things. But she's gonna quickly find out that maybe there's some odd things going on here. Maybe some of the other nuns aren't gonna be happy that she's there. Some of them, yeah, might be odd. Some of them might be creepy. Some of them might not speak English, so it makes it difficult for her. We're getting a combination of kind of things going on here. It is not going to be smooth sailing for her. There's also a priest, clergyman, whatever you want to call it, who's kind of running a little bit of the show here, along with maybe another guy or two. You're going to get kind of introduction to him and kind of his role there. And so that's kind of the pieces and the players here. And as the longer she's there, the she's kind of having maybe these strange dreams. She's not really sure if she's dreaming or really seeing it or things are really happening, and she's just not sure. So we're gonna kind of get that. That's where they might try to scare you. Maybe a little bit of jump scare, maybe a little bit, and that you kind of have those moments where she kind of wakes and it's like and then you're kind of like, oh, okay, this is a dream or whatever. But are you gonna get scared? Maybe you will, maybe you won't. I don't know. Definitely, that's gonna give you kind of a little bit of a clue what is happening here, but not really. Um, and then, again with the title and everything, at some point here, she is going to become pregnant, and you're like, a nun being pregnant? That is just not right. Odd thing happening here. Obviously, that's going to cause a little chaos and commotion here, and maybe not sit well with everybody here. Um, but things are going to work themselves out, and you guys will find out why she's pregnant, how she got pregnant, what is going on, all that kind of good stuff that I'm not going to get into, because then it reaches spoiler territory and kind of spoils everything for you. Um, what I will say is that knowing everything that's kind of explained and kind of revealed and kind of shown or whatever, it doesn't really add up to anything spectacularly new that we've seen in horror before. Maybe it's a little different because she is a nun in the situation and in the place, and kind of easily kind of ties in with the religious theme here. And then maybe it kind of gets you thinking one way, but it is a little bit of something else. It is also kind of merging two things that are often go head to head, and kind of you see things in different way. And I'll just leave it at blanket that, because I think if I am too specific, I'm giving stuff away, kind of a spoiler there. But if you're kind of thinking about what makes this movie interesting, I guess that is kind of interesting about it. Also, I obviously, if you live here anywhere in the United States and turn on any news and whatever, into politics or not, obviously abortion is a big issue in this country. It's been for a long time and is definitely right now a hot topic. So I think, whether they sought out to do this movie because of that issue or not, I think, as you're watching this and as things kind of unfold in this movie, I think that, maybe not while you watch the movie, but maybe afterwards, maybe, you had some thought of that, or maybe you turned on the news and saw abortion and thought back to this movie and thought about, some of the stuff happened in it. So it obviously has its place and setting here. I don't know that the movie overall made a stance on an abortion here, but it is obviously a thought in this movie, and so forth. I think definitely this movie can open the door to that conversation. I'm not going to just dive too much further into that. That is to be argued in a different place and not here, and I just don't want to. But certainly, sometimes I've said it on other reviews, you kind of get into that messaging, in the horror movie kind of, pushes that messaging at you. I don't think that messaging was too pushed here, but I think it is definitely, at least makes this movie relatable to what is going on in current events. And definitely you could bring it up in conversation or whatever with it. Obviously, this movie is a lot fake, and what is happening here, but still, it kind of gives you food for thought here. Anyway, yeah, I think when it comes to those dark and horrifying secrets that are we're waiting for. Again, I think we've kind of seen that obviously in a different place, different setting, in different movies. So I wasn't really blown away with any of that. Obviously, a lot of it is going to be wrapping up for Cecilia. Do you like her? Do you kind of want her to get out of this situation? Or do you just not really care, and what happens to her and whatever? But it's going to kind of set up for a battle. And again, like early in the movie, you saw the young girl who's trying to escape, and obviously Cecilia is going to get to a point where she wants to escape, and she actually comes up with a pretty good plan to do so. But obviously is going to have a hard time pulling it off. And we're going to have the main scene, and we're going to have more stuff is revealed, and whatever. I think what is probably going to be the toughest moment of the film is going to be basically the end of the film, because they're going to leave it off with a bang. And again, it is going to make you think, based on that alone, I'm sure maybe some people will like the film, may not like the film, will probably, may have issue with the film, may not have issue with the film. But definitely the way it ends is going to leave you thinking. And, I think, just if you keep it at the basics and you being a horror fan, you're like, okay, whatever. It's a horror movie, whatever. But if you're not a horror fan, it might not go over so well with you. But yeah, definitely interesting way that they ended that off. And what else to be said about this movie? I don't know. Like, I guess, it kind of gets that religious setting. I'm glad that it didn't, totally, become a whole religious thing. This is not an exorcist movie, and that kind of thing. So I'm glad, it didn't kind of go in that direction. Um, so I think the further it goes, maybe a little bit, while you're still in a religious setting, maybe it gets a little bit away from the religion of it. So that definitely worked for me, and I was happy with that. Again, as far as the scares and everything like that, that's mostly going to come in these kind of dream kind of things that she's kind of having. There are maybe one or two bloody things that are happening here. Not a huge kill count here. It's not really into that either. But I believe there's at least one or two other moments where there might be a little bit of blood and so forth. So it's not huge on that either. Really is a lot about, her story and what is going on here, and then, what is she going to do about it? How is she going to get out of it or not? I thought the young woman here who plays Cecilia does a good job. I know people are familiar with her from other stuff, but whatever Sydney Sweeney is, I don't know. Like I know I looked before, but I don't know. Like I'm not too familiar with her, but she does a good job in the movie, with what she does, and obviously she has a tough role, especially the further this movie goes on. So I thought she kind of handled that pretty well. Um, but yeah, overall, again, I think there are certain movies that have come out recently. A lot of people are liking and whatever, and I'm liking, but I don't think I'm liking at the rate of what it seems that everybody's liking. And I don't know if that's on me or that's on others, trying to pump up these movies, or I don't know what's happening here, or just not my thing, or whatever. I think if you've watched every single review, you know what movie that I really like right now. And I think I've made it clear on social media. So right now, it's two movies that aren't getting a lot of talk about. It is not The Abigails, is not Immaculate here, or there's a couple of others that have come out here recently, and a lot of people have liked. Where for me, I didn't hate them, but I just don't see myself liking them at the level of some of these other movies. Um, and it's weird because there's another, I don't want to, to put anybody out there, but there's another movie that I recently reviewed, and I just thought, whatever. And then I guess, some of it's getting a really lot of good reviews, and a lot of bigger, publications or whatever are saying a lot of good things about it. And I just, I don't know. Are they saying, sometimes I make you wonder, did they watch the same thing I do? And again, everybody has their title to like what they like, don't like what they don't. I really don't like arguing with too many people about it. I mean, you have your feelings about a movie, I have my feelings, and that's kind of what we say. We say what we like and what we dislike about it, and we kind of move on. I'm not really here to argue with anybody. But, sometimes when I kind of see that, I kind of wonder, are they just trying to push a movie to help push a movie? Or are they really being honest and they really, really liked the movie? I don't know what is happening here. So sometimes I have that in the back of my mind. Um, I like to think that if I really like the movie, I really like the movie. And I tell you guys I really like the movie. And if I kind of didn't, I didn't. And I'm not really trying to push a movie to help anybody out. I know I have promote horror and I promote, and that's what I do for that. But I tell you guys, usually if I review something that I'm promoting, I make that clear at the beginning. And, I think I try to be fair. Maybe I give it a little bit of slack, but if I truly didn't like it, I don't think that I would tell you guys that I really loved it and I didn't like it. So, I don't know. I just don't know, what is happening here. Again, I don't want to mention anybody specific, and I don't want to mention the movie specific. Um, but, it kind of had me kind of scratching. Not that the movie was terrible, but I just didn't think that it was as great as everybody was making it seem. I don't know, different movie. I'm getting way off on tangent here, but this is my chance to talk to you guys, so I have to do it when I can. So anyway, back to this movie again. It seemed like a lot of people liked this movie, enjoyed this movie. I don't think it's not unenjoyable. You're not gonna hate it, but to me, I wasn't blown away. I thought it was a good performance here. Again, it had its moment. Everything that happened, the reason why everything was happening, I wasn't blown away by. Again, I'm pretty sure I've seen that in other movies before. So, it is what it is. It might have some tough things to see in a certain scene or two towards the end and when you kind of see what is happening. But again, I don't, without knowing, I'm guessing, maybe part of this was done because of the abortion issues. So that, it obviously gives you something to talk about if you guys really want to get into it. Again, I'm not going down that road and whatever, blah, blah. But, obviously a movie to consider if you want to kind of throw horror into that kind of conversation and just use it to start that conversation. But yeah, so I'm going to give this one 2.5 pools of blood. I don't know. Like, good movie. Definitely, I hope you guys see it. I know a lot of people have seen it. Good performance. But, like I said, not a lot of death, maybe some creepy images, nothing to really scare me. Not huge on the, blood and guts in this movie either. And fairly, nothing spectacularly new here going on. So, yeah, so I'm going to give it 2.5. I could have given it 3, and if you want to accept a 3 pool of blood too, that's fine. But really nothing more than that. I'm not going to say it's more amazing than the fact that than maybe some others have said. So yeah, and that of course is out of 5 pools of blood. So with that, horrorsgoryreviews.blogspot.com is where you can find all of my reviews, written in video. Go back and search for that #1 movie that I put out there. It is not too far behind this video, not too far. Or you can just plain ask me on Twitter, Facebook, whatever, what that is. Or I think I've made it clear. Yeah, so horrorsgoryreviews.blogspot.com is where you can find all of my reviews written in video. But if you're just interested in the video reviews, subscribe, do everything that everybody wants you to do, or not, it is truly okay. But I thank you regardless for any moments you've spent here, or on the blog, or on social media. Twitter, Facebook information again down below. Feel free to reach out to me there. Please don't bring up abortion. I'm just not going to talk about it. Just watch your local news and it'll be fine. But the comment section down below as well. Feel free to talk about this movie, your thoughts. You liked it, maybe you liked it. Not, if you're curious, what my #1 movie is, throw it in there. Maybe I'll tell you, maybe I won't. I'm not gonna tell you what that other movie that I mentioned there a minute ago was. I don't want to get into it with anybody. But yeah, it is what it is. So I guess I'll catch you on the next review, horror fans.